The Boy Who Was Never Afraid by Alfred Smedberg. Once there lived a poor crofter with 8 hungry children and only 1 cow, so it is easy to see why his children often had to make do with little. Yet the cow, Lily White, was a great blessing to the crofter, for she was the best cow in the whole country. She gave as much milk as the finest manor house cow, which was lucky, considering all those children. She was big and handsome, and clever too. She understood everything the children chatted about, and they chatted night and day. Words cannot tell how kind and devoted the children were to their cow as they petted and fussed over her. Lily White was just a cow in a croft, yet she was happy as a wasp in a jam jar. In summertime, she grazed in a large pasture by the manor house, but when the sun went down, she always managed to come home by herself, because she was so clever. But one evening a sad thing happened. Lily White did not return as usual. The crofter spent half the night looking for her, then he came home alone and tired. At daybreak the next morning, he and his wife and the elder children went to look for their cow in the pasture. They walked from one end to the other without finding her. At last, in a far corner of the field, they found Lily White's hoof prints in the soft earth. But beside them were others, made by big, clumsy feet. The crofter was frightened, for he realized at once whose footprints those were. It was none other than the big troll in Halter Wood. Now it was not difficult to guess where Lily White had gone. The troll had come down to the pasture from his caves in the granite mountain and led the cow away with him. The troll must have known that Lily White was the finest milk cow in the whole country. No wonder. Now, the crofter's little home was full of sorrow and dismay. The children cried, and the father and mother were so worried they scarcely said a word. It was out of the question to try to get the cow back, for up to now no one had ever dared enter the terrible mountain caves where the trolls lived. There were not only trolls to be frightened of in the deep haunted forest, there were 3 other creatures too, nearly as dangerous. One was the green-haired witch of Halter Wood. Then there was the bellowing watchdog of the forest, and the third was a bear, the shaggy kind of the forest. Now it happened that among the crofter's children was one small red-cheeked boy named Nisa. There was no one like him in 7 parishes. It was strange. He wasn't afraid of anything in the world, no matter how dangerous it was. The reason Nisa was not afraid was that he was so good-hearted and friendly toward every living thing that not even the fiercest animal had reason to harm him. So he wasn't afraid of wolves or bears or witches or the trolls in fearsome Halter Wood. As soon as Nisa had learned what had happened to Lily White, he immediately decided to walk to the troll caves and bring her back. His mother and father let him go, for they knew that Nisa, who was so good to everyone, had nothing to fear. He took a stick in his hand and put a slice of buttered bread in his pocket and set out. Soon he arrived at the forest. It was not easy for him to cross the ravines and boulders, the fallen trees and brooks and marshes. But Nisa was small and thin and quick. He went through the brushwood and groves like an eel. After a while he caught sight of a witch sitting on a ledge, combing her tousled green hair. It was the quick-footed witch of Halter Wood, and her hair fell all the way down to her hips. "What are you doing here in my forest?" she called, as Nisa came walking along. "I'm looking for our cow, dear lady. The trolls have stolen her," replied Nisa without stopping. "Now wait a minute, you!" the witch screamed, and she jumped down from the ledge to grab his collar. But at the moment her long hair caught in the spreading branches of a fir tree, and she was left hanging, the tips of her toes just above the ground, and she could not get free. She began to kick and twist and shout as loud as she could. Anyone else would have laughed and said it served her right, but Nisa was not like that. "Little mother," he said in a friendly voice, "I'll help you." So he climbed up the tree, pulled and loosened the thick tufts of hair, and at last managed to free the witch from the heavy branches. "You're an odd one, to help someone who wants to hurt you," said the witch, surprised. "I intended to give you a thrashing, but now I might help you instead." "That would be good of you, little mother," said Nisa. "You'll never be able to get past all the dangerous animals in the forest unless you know their language," said the witch. But I will give you a magic herb. If you put this in your ear, you'll understand everything they say while you are in the forest." Nice thanked the witch, did as she told him, and walked on. After he had gone some way, he came to the great angry watchdog of the forest. It limped toward him on 3 legs and made a fierce face. "Poor little doggy," said Nice, full of confidence and sympathy. "Have you hurt yourself? Can I help you?" The dog had been ready to jump on the boy, but was so surprised by his kindness that it sat down on its hind legs just like a well-behaved dog. "You're not like other people, are you?" it said. "Perhaps not," said the boy. "Let me see your paw, little father." The dog gave him its forepaw, and Nice saw there was a big thorn in it. He pulled the thorn out, put a little wet moss on the wound, and tied it together neatly with grass. "That feels better," said the watchdog, standing on all fours. "I had intended to buy your ears, but I don't want to know. Where are you going?" "Our cow is lost," Nice replied. "I am going to the troll caves to find her." My, said the watchdog with a pitying look. "That is not an easy errand, for those trolls are not to be trifled with. But since you are kind enough to cure my foot, I'll go with you and show you the way. Perhaps I can help you." The watchdog did as he had promised. It leapt ahead, and the boy scampered after it, and then they went deep, deep into the forest. They had run for several hours when they caught sight of the bear lumbering through a peat bog, sniffing for cranberries. "You had better go round," said the watchdog, "for he attacks people and cattle." "Well, I like the way he looks, even if he is big and shaggy," said the boy, and kept on walking. Just then the bear saw him. It rose on its hind legs, let out a terrible growl, and patted toward him. "My, what a great rough voice you have," said the boy, putting out his small hand in greeting. "You will make a fine bass in a church choir." "Oof," grunted the bear, stepping closer. "Yes, a very loud voice," continued the boy, "but you seem very friendly anyway, holding up both paws to greet me." The bear was just about to gobble Nice up when the green-haired witch jumped out from the trees. She had followed Nice at a distance to see what was going to happen to him in the troll caves. "Don't touch that boy," she cried to the bear. "He is not like other people." "It's none of your business," roared the bear, and opened his jaws wider. Then the witch of the wood picked up a knotted fir stump and flung it into the bear's wide-open mouth. The stump stuck between its jaws so that he could neither groan nor bite. "Ah," said the boy, "that was a mean thing to do to our father here, who was so friendly and wanted to greet me with both his paws. But wait, let's see if I can't help you out of this." He found a long wooden stick and began poking it into the bear's mouth. The bear sat still, panting, and after much picking and prodding, Nice at last managed to loosen the stump. "That was well done," grunted the bear contentedly. "I can see you're a boy with pluck and nerve. I was going to swallow you in one gulp, but now you are safe from me for the rest of your life. What are you doing here in the forest?" "I am looking for our cow. The troll stole her," Nice replied. "Humph, you're a daring boy to set out on an errand like that," said the bear. "If you can outwit the trolls and hold to wood, you're cleverer than you look. I think I'll follow you, and perhaps I may be of help." They all set off again. The dog pattered first in line, the bear lumbered along at the back, and the green-haired witch of the wood went on ahead to see how the adventure would turn out for the boy. They arrived at the trolls' mountain caves as the sky began to darken. The entrance was covered by mighty boulders, but there was a small opening just about big enough for a bird dog to squeeze through. "Nice, you can crawl in there," said the bear, and it added, "If the troll attacks you, just call, 'Bear, come in,' and then the trolls will have a real fight on their hands, I can promise you." "I don't think it will be necessary," said Nice, "but thank you just the same." And so he crawled through a narrow opening. He entered a cave as big as a barn. The old troll was sitting by a fire, munching on a bone. He looked awful, with an enormous nose, hairy arms, and yellow-green cat's eyes. And there, in one corner of the cave, was Lily White, chewing on some rough thistles the troll had picked for her in the forest. "Why, look, a little urchin!" exclaimed the troll, and grabbing Nice around the waist, he lifted him to the table. "Where do you come from?" "Dear friend troll," said Nice politely, "I've come to fetch our cow, who seems to have wandered into your cave." "Don't be so foolish," clucked the troll. "Oh no, my little fellow, I need milk, you see, and so did my old woman. and you yourself will make a fine little chop for our dinner. As soon as Mother returns, she'll put the pan on the fire." "Oh, you're joking," said Niece. "You won't be so cruel to a little boy who never did you any harm." "What nonsense!" cried the Troll. "Of course I'll fry you. Aren't you frightened?" "No, I'm not afraid of you," said Niece boldly. "I know you're not as bad as you pretend." "I've never seen the likes of you in my life," growled the Troll. "Mother, Mother, come here quick and light the fire." A Troll woman rushed out of a grotto and started rubbing flint and steel together to make a fire. "It's good of you, little mother, to make a fire to warm your old man," said Niece happily. "But now I think it's time for Lily wanting me to go home." But then the old Troll caught hold of Niece and prepared to fling him into the firing pan. Now, most creatures, it is true, can be won over by friendliness, kindness, and generosity, but only force helps with a Troll. Niece realized this now, and so he called, "Bear, come in! Bear, come in!" You should have seen what happened next. The bear tossed the boulders at the entrance, left and right, with its great paws. Sparks flew into the air. Then the bear rushed into the cave, and behind it came the Witch of the Woods and the watchdog. The bear caught the Troll firmly by the neck and flung him onto the floor. The dog dug its teeth into the Troll woman's leather jacket until she fell down with a splashing right into the water pail by the fire. Meanwhile, the Witch of the Woods went over to Lily White and loosened the rope with which she was tied. Niece lost no time in climbing on Lily White's back. He held tight to her long horns and called, "Thank you all for helping me. Don't be too hard on the Trolls." Then he urged Lily White on. "Hurry, dear Lily White, hurry, dear cow." And with a boy on her back and a tail in the air, Lily White set off. Niece waved his cap in the air and shouted, "Hurrah!" They galloped over tree trunks and stones, through forest and meadow, and were both safe and sound back at the croft by the time the sun came up. The rejoicing was great at the croft, but back in the cave, the Trolls were so frightened by the fact that their own forest friends had helped Niece, just because he was kind and trusting, that they never dare show their noses in the manor house pasture again.